Yeah, no, I don't have a slide, but let's go. Mhm. Yes, agreed 100%. Yikes. Okay, I think yeah. Thank you. Oof, okay, better. Okay, so office hours are coming back. And then without further ado, in order to attend any of these events, I'm recommending that you guys visit our DataHub calendar and subscribe. All right. Okay, and the link for that is events.datahubproject.io. All right. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Maggie. Yes, it was messing up. Maggie, one quick comment. People online are saying that you don't have volume, so I don't know what happened there. But the YouTube fam is writing us left and right, telling me
It's good
they
right
can't
now,
hear
Maggie.
you.
I think it's probably a lag, so you're good now. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, Maggie. I'm just going to take 2 minutes to announce something we're working on in the open source. I know we have a lot to get through, so I'll be quick. Just today, we announced the DataHub Open Assertion specification. You can see the details in the announcements channel on Slack, but just a quick overview of what this initiative is all about. What we're trying to do is basically give you a single unified YAML format for defining different types of data quality assertions across freshness, volume, column validation, custom SQL validation, and schema or structural assertions. And then the tooling to compile those or generate artifacts in different data quality tools from this unified specification. And why did we actually think this was useful? Well, on the observability team at Acryl, we've been working with a variety of different customers and seeing just the scope of all the different tools that exist in the data quality space. And what we noticed is that, oftentimes they repeat the same functionality in terms of what's being validated, whereas they kind of differ in how the checks are actually validated. So the goal here, again, is to give you one declarative specification of what you expect in terms of data quality, and then be able to cross-compile or convert that into different types of data quality tools or engines. Initially, we're rolling out an MVP support for Snowflake DMFs, which is their data metric functions feature. It allows you to define data quality rules on a table and then monitor those. And so the initial MVP will cover provisioning those DMFs in Snowflake from your YAML definition, as well as reporting the results of those into DataHub as assertions. And this is all in the hopes of sort of making data quality signals more accessible to the broader organization beyond just the technical engineers who are working with these tools on a day-to-day basis. So last thing I'll say is we are soliciting both feedback on the specification as well as contributions to support different integrations with other data quality tools. So if you have a tool you'd like to see here, please do reach out and let me know. And you can view the full proposal for the spec as well as understand the Snowflake MVP by going to the link shown here, which will redirect you to our GitHub where the whole spec is visible. I think that's it. Hopefully that was short and sweet, and we can continue on.
I'll mute my audio here. All right. Thank you, John. Give me 1 second here. Let me just replace. Okay, let's see who's up next. Okay, so up next we have Shashanka and we have Gabe. Are you going to present, Shashanka?
Yeah, I'd love to present. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Let me. Awesome. All right, let me highlight you.
All right, everyone. Super excited to see the quality spec coming out. We believe really strongly in, your metadata should be yours and your specifications should be yours. And then we are here to help translate logical specifications into physical specifications. And so you're seeing that with our efforts at data contracts, data product specifications, and now with this observability spec as well, you'll be able to define what your quality rules should look like in a vendor agnostic and an implementation agnostic way. And we are going to build a translator that allows you to push these down into your individual systems. So I'm really excited with the direction we're taking with this. And today we are talking about another important announcement. And I have with me my good friend, Gabe, who has been a longtime member of DataHub. If you're not familiar with Gabe, I have a quick and interesting video to play for all of you. So let's see how that works. So this is a video from a few years ago, February 19th, 2021. It was one of our first town halls that Acryl hosted, where we launched essentially a new UI for DataHub. That was kind of the thing. We were launching the new React front end. And this is what it looked like. And John looks about the same, actually. He looks just as young. So it's a good job there, John. I'll play this for you so that we can get a quick sense of what we were talking about back then. It's always fun to have a quick kind of travel back through history.
Which allows you to see different entities grouped by type. So you can see we have dashboards, charts, users, and data sets. From here, you can go right to the details pages. Pretty similar to what the Embraer.
And now we're moving on to.
I went directly to the city of San Jose and looked at all the quick
I'm
permitting companies, and Abodu was
all right.
What lies in store for it. And also another plug for the office hours. I'll be hanging out there too. And if anyone has some idea of something that they want to extend or a feature that they'd like to see, you can come and we can hack together and try to get something working. We'll show you around the code base and try to make it as easy.
So that was Gabe, also looking just as young. A few years back, introducing tags and themes to DataHub. So that was then. And then we've made a lot of progress. Obviously, the product doesn't look like this anymore. You've probably played around with the open source product, and you've kind of seen what it looks like. So let's talk about what we are talking about today. So we've been working on something for a few months now. Internally, it's codenamed Acryl 2.0, also known as Project Alchemy. And it really started out with looking at hundreds of interviews that we did with a lot of our community members as well as customers to understand what was working and what wasn't working with the current user experience. And we heard a couple of things. Basically, we found that tech-forward teams really love DataHub. Data engineers, streaming engineers, operational people, they love it. It's a technical UI, and they get it. However, the moment you get outside that primary data practitioner, core data practitioner persona, BI analysts, data analysts, PMs, they start getting overwhelmed. They're like, well, this is too much. It's a lot of information, and I want a simpler experience. But our goal is really to be that single pane of glass for data discovery and bridge the gap between these personas. So that's where we started and said, let's learn more and let's understand what it is we need to do to get better at serving both of these personas. And here are a few examples of codes. And if you've deployed DataHub at your organization, you've probably heard something like this as well. Like, oh, we landed on the homepage. There's too much. We're confused. What do we need to do here? I couldn't quite figure out how to get to lineage. And then, 1 week later, once they actually do, it's like all good. They don't talk to you again. But that first step is hard. They realize it's a powerful tool, but they don't quite know how to get to business definitions, user interface input, native types, like why do you call charts, worksheets, charts? Can you just call them worksheets? And then, of course, a lot of questions around the queries, like people want to see queries that was used to create lineage and not just see table-to-table lineage. And this is just a few quotes that I'm pulling from hundreds of these conversations we've had. So many, many more. And so with that in mind, we kind of set out to develop a new set of principles for how the product was going to be built and what the UX would look like. None of this should be surprising. We want to make sure that there's a clear information hierarchy. We want to make sure that there is progressive disclosure, so you're getting exposed to complexity gradually and not just getting completely overwhelmed on the first go. Being able to effectively navigate to outcomes. So if I want to get to lineage, I should be able to get to that quickly. If I'm looking at a ton of search results, I should be quickly able to understand what this asset is and how I should use it. Being able to personalize, being able to support multi-persona experiences inside the product. And of course, design that's driven by user research. So doing user research interviews at scale and then using that to drive design. So these were kind of the principles that drove the redesign. And with that, I will hand it over to Gabe to once again show us what the future looks like. And then we'll close up with some thoughts about the future. So with that, Gabe, I will stop sharing and have you take over.
All right. Thank you for that intro. Always nice to take a trip down memory lane. So I think it is relevant to show that because I think we saw a huge jump between what Shashank was showing and what exists in the open source today. And what we're seeing, with people trying out this new Acryl UI is a similar shift. And just in terms of what's being unlocked. So the whole point of working on DataHub and having Acryl and installing this type of tool is to bring all the different parts of your organization together. It was never meant to be, hey, here's a tool for a few people to use, but it's supposed to be that place where everyone can come together, collaborate, get insights from each other, see what's going on with each other. And for that to be successful, we need to meet each user where they are. So a lot of what Acryl 2.0 is letting you bring everyone into the fold and having the product and the tool respond to who it's working with. So when I log into Acryl 2.0, the new UI, the first thing I'm going to be presented with is an introduction page where we can gain some insights about who's showing up here. So in this case, maybe I'm a BI analyst and I primarily work in Looker. So I can go and select that as the tool, and this is my persona. And when I hit done, the homepage is going to be prepared specifically for me so that I'm not seeing every single thing under the sun, getting overwhelmed, and then closing out my browser tab. But I feel like, hey, this tool is made for me. And we are seeing that that is working out on the adoption side, because we are starting to see when people come into this tool now with this new UI, we're seeing engagement increase quite a bit when you look across different personas. So I land here, my whole homepage experience is going to be curated based on the tools that I work with, what's important to me. Now, when I go do a search, that's going to feed over. So it's not just something where I saw that on my homepage, but it's actually something that carries over across my whole experience. So I'm going to do a search here, and I'll be able to then filter by, am I interested in dashboards? Am I interested in charts? So I can go and choose what in Looker I want to specifically look into. As a next step, though, I want to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and switch personas. So I teased search a little bit, but we've also made a number of improvements to search as well that make it much easier for me to find things when I'm going through a more technical search. So this first flow is just, I'm logging in as a BI user. I want to explore in a safe, curated environment. So all my searches, my homepage, that's going to work within the scoped down set that I've been assigned to. Same with domains. All of these are going to just be curated for what's prepared for me. Now I can go ahead and switch my persona out to be an admin type persona. So I'm going to clear this off and flip into this admin view. Now I'll see everything else, a lot more content exposed to me. Now, when I go to do this search for account again, I'll see a lot more results from all sorts of different platforms. The first thing you're going to notice is within search, we're going to make it a lot easier for me to quickly get a sense of which result I want. So we're obviously going to help you with search ranking, and we're pulling in signals like popularity and freshness to do that search ranking. But maybe I'm interested actually in finding a business term. So we've made filtering much more intuitive and native in the search experience. So I can quickly flip in and say, actually, let me look for glossary terms, and I'll see the glossary terms that match account. Maybe I'm interested in finding a data product that's referencing account information. I don't actually want to go through sorting through every single table in there, but I want to find a data product that I can trust and is high quality. So I can quickly flip over to data product, and I'll see any data product that matches my search. One other thing that you'll notice is in the search side, we've added a sidebar that quickly lets me get a preview of what data product or what search result I'm looking at, and just get a quick hit of what's the highlights of this result. So I can use this to understand if I'm getting a few different results that look promising, which one I actually want to dive into. So I can see I actually have 2 accounts data products here. And just looking at the title, it's not clear which one would be right for me. But I can see here, this one has good owners. It's got a domain. It has documentation assigned to it. And when I flip over and look at this other one, I can see actually in the documentation, looks like this data product is not maintained and should be deprecated. So I have a sense, okay, I want to avoid this one. This is the data product I'm looking for. And I can click right into that and have a confidence that this is the correct search result. So with the improvements we've made to search, it's just much easier to navigate and a lot fewer clicks, as Shashank was saying, to get to the information that I need. The last piece I wanted to highlight was in the new UI. There's a lot to show, but one other just quick thing that we can highlight here is the browse-based experience. So what we've done is bring browse over into domains and data products being the primary way to navigate through a browse type view. And this lets users without a lot of technical background or not a clear understanding of, maybe they don't know how your Snowflake warehouse or your Databricks warehouse has been structured. When I flip over into domains, I'm able to see a business organization of my concepts. So rather than navigating through schemas and databases, I can browse through nested domains. Each domain is able to have a homepage with clear documentation and data products that it publishes. So if I log in for the first time, I might not know where to start, but I can always go to the domains page, browse through the top level domains, maybe financial products is looking good to me. I can expand that out, look at the subdomains, see what's in there, look at the documentation for each one of these, and then finally look at the subset of data products that each domain publishes. So this type of browse or hierarchy-based browse using things like domains and data products to navigate makes it a lot easier for someone who's not super in the weeds technically, not in and out of the data pipelines every day, to find information that's relevant to them. So I'm able to look at some domains, look at nested domains, find a data product that's relevant, and do all that navigation without having to worry about what tools am I talking about? Is this in warehouse 1 or warehouse 2? I don't have to think about any of that. I can just think about concepts. And as the final stage, a data product is able to offer a output port and saying, hey, here's the table that you want to go and explore. So I did say I actually had one more thing I wanted to show, aside from the navigation. So I think most of what I've showed so far is landing on the homepage, what that curated experience looks like, how I can search to find something that I want, even if I'm in a really complex situation. And then the browse navigation. The last thing I wanted to touch on was, once you get to an entity, what kind of improvements we've made there. There's a lot we've done to refresh the asset pages, data set pages, and chart pages. One thing that I really want to highlight, I think is particularly cool, is what we've done on lineage. So one focus for lineage has been for us to make even complex lineage graphs easier to consume and analyze. So we've added a few handy techniques that make it a lot easier for me to take a long, complex lineage graph and see what's going on. One is I can go do this expand all action. So I can quickly go out, expand out a really large lineage graph with lots of hops and get a sense of table level dependencies without having to do too much work. From there, I'm able to go and expand columns of a given asset. So maybe at this Kafka topic, I want to know for a specific field how that's being used. So I can go and click on account ID, and that's going to specifically highlight across all these different dependencies as it goes through warehouses, as it's pulled into ML tools and BI tools, how a given column is flowing through all these different dependencies. So it lets me even take these very complex lineage graphs and ask specific questions like how a column is being used, and I'm able to get that insight very easily with our new lineage UI. So this has really unlocked a lot of power for people to analyze the dependencies that they already have. And we'll still, of course, support impact analysis that lets you go and look at that lineage information in a tabular way. All right, well, those are some of the highlights that I wanted to choose. I don't know how much time we have, so maybe I can take a pause here and switch back. Or Shashank, anything else that you wanted to highlight?
No, you hit them all. And thanks so much for walking through the whole UI experience. This was amazing. So Gabe, maybe a round of applause to you and the rest of the team. I know there's a bunch of people that have worked really hard on getting this built out. I'll continue the conversation here, and we have a packed agenda with Lineage will make a comeback when we chat about tag propagation. So hold on to that. We'll see the Lineage page one more time. And I just need to go back to my slides. There we go. So you probably have a bunch of questions, and I have a quick set of questions and answers ready for you for the future. So question one, how can I get this experience today? So we're currently only offering this experience on Acryl DataHub. So that's where this has first landed. That's where most of the development has happened. Second question would be, will this come to the community edition? So stay tuned for that. We are currently scoping which parts of this experience can be released to DataHub Community Edition. We're still working on the timeline for it, so I don't have a firm answer right now. As you can imagine, there's quite a bit of technical complexity, but we will let you know as soon as we finalize that timeline. And then the third question is probably going to be, hey, what happens to the existing UI? So our expectation is that we're going to phase it out eventually once the new experience is released. Again, timing TBD. We definitely know that a lot of people are using the current UI and it's in wide use. We probably are running a bunch of forks. We will take our time because it will take us time to get this experience or parts of this experience out to the community edition. Until then, we will rely on the community members to help each other out if you're on the old UI. But for now, stay tuned for updates. We will let you know as soon as we have firmer timelines. With that,
all right, awesome. Okay. Go ahead, Shashank. I was going to pass it on to Harsha really quickly. Go ahead.
Yep, that was basically what I was going to say. Let's move on to the second half.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring Harshal up to the screen. Give me 1 second here. And Miss Sam Black. Give me 1 second here. And then Harshal, are you wanted me to present, or you're going to go ahead and share your screen?
I think Sam will be kicking it off, and I suspect she'll want to share screen.
Yes, I will be the one.
Okay, Sam, go ahead. Let me just spotlight you.
Awesome.
All right.
Welcome to Town Hall, Sam.
Here. Yeah.
So what we're going
Yeah,
to
sorry about that. I was going to say Sam is one of our newest members. So let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead, Sam. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. So Herschel and I are going to be sharing a new feature called propagation. And basically, we're trying to solve the problem where you have a long, complex pipeline that involves multiple hops and transformations from Kafka to S3 to Snowflake. And you want to make sure that the data is being accessed securely and compliant everywhere, right? So in your data warehouse, you have Snowflake that already supports tag-based masking policies, but you have a cold start problem, right? So how do we make those tags get there in the first place? And then you have a maintenance problem. How do we make sure that they're also kept up to date as your data contents change? And like, how do we solve this in a sustainable way, right? And that's where DataHub enters. And it's a combination of auto classification, lineage-based tag propagation, and Snowflake tag propagation. With these type of actions, you can ensure that your data is automatically protected with minimal help needed from your data team people, which is like, we're all busy. So the more we can automate, the better. So we're going to go ahead and start with auto classification. Go ahead, share my screen real quick. And what you'll see here is a Snowflake table. And in this table, we have none of these fields are hidden, right? So we have sensitive information such as this address or phone number or any type of other information that you wouldn't have. And what we're going to do, sorry, it's the first time talking one of these things, I'm a little nervous. In this demo, we're actually going to be using Acryl DataHub, which has a lot of these capabilities already built in on top of DataHub, but we're going to show us how you can take advantage of these features in a powerful way, as far as adding a tag to downstream assets and having it propagate all the way through. Later, Herschel's going to be going through the individual Lego blocks that make up the solution, so you can assemble them yourself in the open source DataHub. So what we're looking at is currently we were at the customer 360 table, right? This is in Snowflake, and we actually wanted to see where are we getting this information from, right? So right now I'm in this S3 bucket called user registration events, and I found that this table is here. If I start looking at these columns, let me zoom out real quick. We're going to see that address actually comes all the way back to this original S3 bucket. And say we wanted to, from this original source of information, hide that address all the way in the S3 bucket. We can use the powerful classification library that comes in DataHub to run alongside metadata ingestion, the library that uses column names, descriptions, sample values, as well as other table method data to produce, sorry, the notes are wrong, to produce the different classification terms. Right now, this isn't adding a suggestion, but the data steward who's running this behind the scenes have asked me, hey, like we want to add this glossary term to this column, and we can accept it or reject it. And if we add this glossary term, we're going to see that in the S3 bucket, it will then auto mask the field where it needs to be masked. So we accept this.
Also, Sam, I think there's a hidden proposal sitting under location.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and find that one. There it is. And I accept this. So we're going to accept this one. Correct. And if we come over here and also look at this customer 360 data asset. Load. We're going to see that in Acryl DataHub that these glossary terms have been propagated from the original table, the users table. Then, if we go back to our customer 360 in Snowflake, we will see that the address has been masked as expected because the glossary term has been applied to the column. Actually, there is a data issue right now in Snowflake where you have to refresh to be able to see the tag. But you'll see this glossary term has made its way all the way from the original S3 bucket and through the lineage. So user registration, cleaned user registration, users, and then all the way down into customer 360. So our Acryl instance has been provisioned with lineage-based tag propagation, which is constantly monitoring for new tags, terms being attached to these columns and using lineage to propagate this forward across column level relationships. What this means is that the moment you accept one of these proposals, which you just saw me do, all of the downstream columns that were directly and indirectly related to this column via and as this relationship will inherit that glossary term. So what happens if, like, in a couple weeks, somebody adds a new term or removes a term, right? The same thing will apply. The lineage tag-based propagation will run and subsequently update those tags accordingly, right? Similarly, if a new column gets added and that gets flagged to say, like an email address detected, a similar workflow could happen of the classification system proposing the term and on approval the term auto-propagating all the way to the destination system. So these actions run, and as they're running and changes happen, all of the changes, they get propagated down where they need to be. So how do we manage these automations, right? Where do we create them? How do we determine what they're doing? And what we're working on building is an actual automation center, which will show all the different types of automations that you can create. And the new type of this are going to be propagation type actions. We will have some pre-made recipes. So you'll be able to do like Snowflake term, and some of these are like pre-made, so that way you can create them pretty quickly with some pre-made configs. And once they are created, you'll be able to manage their current running state from this page. So we currently have Snowflake tag propagation and term propagation actions running, which these two together allowed us to move that glossary term from user registration events data set into that the Snowflake bucket. Since they are currently running, you can also stop them, and they will stop moving those terms down to their child lineage data assets. The next thing you could also do is say, hey, like, it has updated 10 of these assets, right? And actually, I don't want any of these updates anymore. We have the ability where you can undo those assets by clicking an undo button as well. You also be able to obviously edit these automations, delete them, etc., as you would. And in the same view, we'll also be moving in another type of automation, which is the metadata tests, which will also live here. And yeah, I think that's about it for my portion of this demo. Shashanka, did I miss anything?
No, great job,
Thanks,
Sam. And amazing first demo in Town Hall. Congratulations. So now you saw what Acryl DataHub allows you to do in terms of monitoring and automating all of these automations. We're now going to transition over to Harshal, who's going to show you the Lego blocks that were used in making this thing work.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does this all work? Yep. Yep, I will breeze through this. Yep. So the core backbone of actually DataHub entirely is the metadata changelog and event logs more broadly. Shashanka does a great job of explaining this in his blog post on metadata architectures from a couple years back, so I won't belabor that point. But streams are really powerful. And by listening to the stream of changes that are happening in DataHub, there's tons of different things that we can do. You know, we can propagate documentation and tags and terms to downstream assets. We can propagate things back to Snowflake, as you just saw. We can also sync documentation changes or terms and tags to dbt. If you make a change in DataHub, it will show up in your dbt repo. I demoed this a few weeks ago, or at a prior town hall. The other things you can do, you know, you can sync metadata across multiple DataHub instances or send notifications. There's no limit to the types of integrations or automations that you can build based on the core abstraction of a change stream. But managing change streams and, you know, doing this work of building automations based on them can be pretty tricky. And so we have a framework called DataHub Actions that makes it easy to do that. And this has been open source for a couple of years now. We have docs and in the public doc site for it, and you know, you can check out the repo. Everything that you just saw in that demo with propagating tags to downstream assets and then propagating those back into Snowflake, that's all powered by DataHub Actions under the hood. And what's more, most of those actions are already open source. We've made a couple tweaks to them, but most of the functionality is already there. And what does this actually look like? Well, we have an action type that's a Snowflake tag propagation. You give it a config as well as a configuration of where your Snowflake instance lives, and the credentials to access it. And then the other piece you need is, where do we get the change log from? And so we need to listen to the Kafka stream. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward to configure this sort of thing yourself, and then you can run it with the CLI. And if you were to build a custom action, it's very similar. You give us an event handler that accepts an event or a change, and you know, does whatever you need to do with it, and the framework takes care of the rest. Things like, you know, tracking what events have we processed, making sure that we've, like, you know, if the processor stops and then restarts, we like catch up on the events that we missed. All of these details, the framework just handles for you, and so you don't really need to think about it. And this looks very similar to ingestion recipes, and that's intentional because it's actually the same thing in reverse. In ingestion recipes, we pull metadata from places and sync it into DataHub. Here we are sourcing metadata from DataHub and taking actions based on it and pushing those actions out to other DataHub instances, or to the same DataHub instance, or to third-party tools. As I mentioned, DataHub Actions is open source. Both of the actions that you saw demoed here are also open source, the tag propagation action within DataHub, as well as the sync from DataHub back into Snowflake. We've made some minor tweaks to those as part of the demo here, but we'll be moving those back to the DataHub Actions repo shortly. The thing that will not be open source and will only be available on Acryl Cloud is the UI for kind of managing these things through the automations page. Please leave questions in chat, and that's all I had.
Thank you so much, Harsha. Thanks, everybody. Not to rush along here, but I literally need to bring Harsha on. That was awesome. Thank you, Sam. Great job. Okay, so without further ado, sorry, guys, stay tuned here. Let me get Harsha up on the screen, guys. We have a super exciting presentation. Let me add Harsha. There you are. Hey, Harsha.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. All right. So Harsha, I know we're a bit over, and you need about 13 to 15 minutes. So I'll just say go ahead. Everybody who is online, because we again have people in here and online, we are gonna post the recording, guys. So feel free. I know if you guys have to hop off, it's fine. We'll go ahead and post the recording. All right, Harsha, let's rock and roll. I'm super excited for this.
First thing first, I hope you guys can see my screen.
We can. Looks great.
Okay. So yeah, super excited to be here today and to meet you guys virtually. My name is Harsha Mandari, and I am a data platform engineer at Funding Circle. I joined Funding Circle in 2022, and before I was at Skyscanner. I have been working with data for quite a long time. In my career, I have worked on developing some really complex processing data pipelines and also designed data systems. And I have a passion for all things data, and that's it about me. And with that said, today I'll talk about how we have leveraged DataHub at Funding Circle. And one second. So this is the agenda that we are going to cover today. So I'm going to briefly talk about who Funding Circle is, what we do as a company, and why we need a data ecosystem, and what problems does DataHub solve for us, and why we use it in the first place. And I'll also talk about the adoption metrics of DataHub, how well people have been using it within the company, et cetera, and then I'll talk a little bit about the architecture that we use to enable the ingestion in a decentralized fashion so that the users can self-service themselves. And then I'll briefly talk about how the self-service user journey would look like with a brief demo, and then I'll talk about the wish list of features that I think would be cool for DataHub to have. And with that, without further ado, let's jump straight in. For those who don't know about Funding Circle, so Funding Circle is a lending platform that connects small businesses with investors to secure business loans and be successful. The business of Funding Circle is primarily focused in the UK at the moment. And as you can read the numbers, we have helped all like 140K small businesses secure 16 billion pounds, and it helped like generate 95,000 plus jobs. So as you could imagine, we would have data coming in from multiple systems, both internal and external, about loan applications, et cetera, and we need to process those external and internal systems data in order to make decisions on the loan applications that we get. So that's why we need a data ecosystem. And let's look at how our data ecosystem looks like. If you see the picture, we have data. Okay, before first thing first, we use AWS and all of our applications run in Kubernetes, just to set the context. And as you see on the left-hand side, we have data coming into the lake from multiple systems. Almost all the loan application data comes through Kafka, and we also have some systems like RDBMS and SFTP, where we primarily get external data. And we have an ingestion layer, a processing layer, and a metadata storage layer, and then we have a layer or a tool for metadata storage, which is DataHub in our case. And we also use Tableau and SageMaker. Tableau for the purpose of visualization, and SageMaker for interactive on-demand notebooks for querying the data. So we have some custom platforms. I think it's important to remember this because I'll talk about it, why it's important. So we have a custom platform called Kirby, which processes data from all the Kafka topics and ingests the data into the lake. And once the data is in the lake, we use a combination of Glue, Athena, and Lake Formation for interactive querying, as well as restricting access. And as you see, we use open source technologies like Airflow for orchestrating our jobs, and DataHub for data discovery, PagerDuty, and Grafana for alerting and monitoring. So this is a very brief overview of how our data ecosystem is set up today. So given the number of components that we have, as you see in the picture, it's really important for us to understand how the data has been flowing through different systems, and to be able to visualize and understand how it has been flowing through different systems, to be able to analyze any impact of the changes you make, also to understand the upstreams and downstream dependencies of a given data set. And that's how that's why a metadata platform comes into play. So as you see in the picture, we use DataHub now, but before we had another system called TrueDat for managing our metadata. And I'll briefly talk about the problems we had with TrueDat and why we chose to go with DataHub. So TrueDat was fine for some time, but as the demand from our users grew, it did not support a lot of the features that we wanted. So the first thing was it didn't provide us with the support of lineage at the time. So it was a big problem. Like if we don't have the lineage for a given data set, we wouldn't know how it's going to impact if we make changes to that data set, or we wouldn't be able to understand how data has been flowing through the system as a whole. And it also didn't provide programmatic access. Because of that, we had to do the ingestion in a centralized fashion, which was not very scalable because everything was centralized. And we couldn't also build any custom tooling that we wanted because there was no programmatic access. And lastly, the number of sources or the platforms that TrueDat supported were very limited. Especially, we use dbt very heavily for transforming data sets. And it didn't support dbt also at the time. And yeah, it didn't even support some of the existing platforms we had, but building or having metadata about custom platforms in TrueDat was like a really tough task. So that's why we switched over to DataHub. On the other hand, DataHub provided us with out-of-the-box lineage support, both the column and the table level lineage. And yeah, as you all know, DataHub supports multiple ways of ingesting the metadata into DataHub through programmatically. And the sources that are supported by DataHub are there's a lot of data sources that are provided by DataHub. But if you also want to extend the metadata model to have your custom platforms information or metadata in DataHub, that's also possible. And that's what we did for our custom platforms that I was talking earlier about. And with that said, let's have a look into how the adoption of DataHub has been within the company. So we have our instance running from the past 1 year, and within 1 year we have over like 84 different teams that use DataHub at the moment, and we had like 5,500 search results viewed in the last 24 weeks, and right now we have like 23,000 different data sets registered in DataHub, and that's not from all the different sources we have. That's only from some sources. We have many more sources that are yet to be ingested. And so far we have at least 341 unique users that have used DataHub at least once. So based on these metrics, I think I would consider that it has been like really successful and it has been well adopted within our organization. And after this, I'll briefly talk about the architecture, the decentralized architecture that we use to ingest the metadata into DataHub, which enables our users to self-service. So as you see in the picture, on the left side, you see a couple of different sources. And for all of these sources, we use the standard recipes that are provided by DataHub, and they're scheduled to run in Airflow on a schedule. So they all run fine and ingest the metadata into DataHub with the REST sync. So you can use different ways of ingesting the metadata. We chose to go with the REST sync because it was quite handy for us. And if we talk about the metadata, so in this case, for example, for dbt and Kafka, we could add the metadata information about the owners, tags, terms, domains, etc. at the source itself, according to our metadata standards. But it was not the same case for other sources. For example, Postgres, Tableau, and Athena, it was not the same case. So we had to come up with an alternative approach to make that happen so that the users can, tag the information about an Athena dataset, for example, or a Postgres dataset. So that's how the plugin came into the picture. So the plugin, for those who don't know about plugin is nothing but it's a code base that is bundled into a Docker image and published to the ECR. So since all the code is bundled into an image, the users can basically pull that image, do some configuration changes, and the code will basically work anywhere within the organization, right? Since it's an image, so they can do the ingestion in a decentralized fashion from different sources or from different places. And I will quickly talk about how the self-service user journey would look like, and I will just walk you through what steps the end users need to take to have their metadata ingested into DataHub. As you can see in the picture, so it's pretty self-explanatory. So the first thing first is, as a user, I need to write a YAML file, which is pretty similar to DataHub recipes, and I'll show how it would look like. And after that, I need to add a step to my CI/CD pipeline definition. In our case, we mainly use drone, but some users also use GitHub Actions. And after that, they just need to promote their build, their CI/CD build to the environment they would like to see their metadata ingested into. And here comes the plugin. So the plugin helps take care of ingesting the metadata into DataHub. And after that, they can simply see how the metadata would look like in DataHub. We do have some guardrails to make sure that we just don't ingest anything that the users want to ingest. We have validations and stuff like that. I will now quickly go through a demo. So this is a YAML file. For example, as a user, I want to enrich an Athena table. So I just need to write the YAML file in this format. So I just specify the table name and the database name. So the geography here corresponds to the platform instance. in DataHub terms. So we have slightly modified, the terminology just to make the user experience easy and better. And similarly, so I write all the information related to my data set, my Athena data set. And similarly, if I want to create a data product as well, as part of the same process, I can do that like so, define everything that is required for creating a data product. And so we have this customization for creating data products because it's, of course, DataHub also provides, DataHub also provides a recipe to create a data product, which looks like this. Of course, users can simply use this style and they can create data products. But in our case, we thought that okay, if a user wants to create a data set, they have to specify the full URLs of the data assets. The same thing goes for the owners, the tags, terms as well. We thought that it's okay, but it wouldn't be a great user experience if you think about the end users, if they have to go find out all the information or the full URLs of each data set that they want to be part of their data product. So we thought like, okay, maybe we could simplify that by specifying, if they could specify the platform and some other variables, we would build the URLs for them and ingest the metadata into DataHub. So yeah, this is the customization we have. And as you could see, we use Pydantic in our plugin, which basically validates the YAML structure. They can't ingest anything they like. We do have some guardrails. And it also validates if a given data set is already present in DataHub. If not, then the plugin will throw errors. So this is the first step. As a user, I've written down my YAML file. And the second step that I need to do is I need to add a step in the drone pipeline definition. So as I mentioned, we use drone primarily for CI/CD. So I just specify a name and the image of the plugin. And in settings, I specify the manifest file, which is this file that the plugin needs to read. And so this is the environment that the plugin needs to ingest the metadata into. So once I have all this information set up, I do the necessary steps in my CI/CD, and that's it. So if the manifest file is valid, as a user, I should see the metadata reflect in DataHub. I can quickly show you how it would reflect. This is just a screenshot from our instance. So this is a data product. This is a dummy data product I have just ingested just for the demo purposes. So this is how it would look like. So all the owners and the tags, terms, everything like that were written in the manifest file would reflect here. And that's it for the demo. And after that, I'll quickly talk about the wish list.
Hey,
After that, I'll quickly talk about the wish list of features that I think would be cool for DataHub to have. As you can see, the first one is, a feature to subscribe to a given data set. If we could subscribe, that would be cool. If I'm interested in a data set, I can simply go subscribe and be informed about whatever happens to that data set. And the second one is to have the ability to comment on a data set, let it be feedback, questions, or anything like that. And the third one is integration with PagerDuty, so that as a user, I can go and understand the history of incidents for a given data set. And lastly, lineage at the data product level or a database level. So right now, DataHub provides the lineage at the column and at the table level out of the box. And if you could have it at the level of a data product or a database also, it would be pretty handy to understand the upstreams and the downstream of a given data product, for example. And lastly, we'd like a little bit more direction on the data products approach from Acryl. And with that said, I am pretty much done. And lastly, I would like to thank you all for tuning in and listening to the presentation. And a big shout out to my teammates who have been really supportive and helpful in making DataHub a success at our company. And if you'd like to talk to us about how we have leveraged DataHub a little bit more in depth, you could reach out to us through the mentioned means, you could reach out to any of the engineers, or you could email us. We'd be more than happy to help you guys. Thank you very much.
Hey, Harsha, I think I speak for the entire team and we want to say thank you. Just give him like a round of applause here. I know that we ran over, but we still have quite a bit of people live. So thank you so much. Okay, everybody, this has been, I think, an amazing DataHub Town Hall. Maggie and Shashanka, do we have any closing words here? We still have about 70 people live, if not more. So do we have? Thank you for sticking around.
Thank you.
Absolutely. As I was telling Harsha, those are also on our favorites list of things we wish for to build in it. So, some of these things are open source and you can build around them and contribute them back. PagerDuty is a great example of something. So with kind of the actions repository, you can build an action and contribute it for the whole community. That would be great. And then similarly, the container and data product lineage, that's something actually on our roadmap and we're actively under design with it. You saw a hint of data products with output ports in the Acryl demo earlier today, and would love to collaborate with you on that as well. So thank you so much, Harsha, and thanks to the whole team for doing a great round of demos. And thanks to John for announcing the open source standard for data quality. We'll keep watching that one. And thanks to Miko and Maggie for making sure that we stay on track-ish. we go long.
Yeah, well, I have to.
We're still on one. Two of the wheels are still on the track.
Yeah.
We like talking
and also
metadata. What can we say?
yeah, and thank you. We learned we had a lot of people on YouTube that talked today. So thank you for talking, even though you had to tell us about audio. You guys are there. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you guys next month again for our next town hall. We have some exciting stuff. And again, the recording will be posted minus Shashanka's address. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Cheers.
The recording has stopped.